All right. Welcome, everybody, to CXps 2024 Reimagined. Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you rolling with some of the changes from Puerto Rico to this lovely country club. Want to welcome our virtual guests who are joining us from their computers. Great having you here as well. So those of you in the room, if you see the microphones, we don't have sound reinforcement here, but that is for the remote guests. We really appreciate you. And the live stream would not be possible without our good friends at A&E Engineering. So A&E, thank you so much for your, I think 5 years in a row as our video sponsor, wonderful CX-oriented firm. We just love collaborating with them. So thank you, of course. I'm Ryan Saddam. I'm the Chief Experience Officer and co-founder of Client Savvy. Welcome to CXps. We're going to have a very fast, a mere 6 hours. So you will see the agenda here. I'm going to do a quick opening keynote, really talking about harvesting and acting on client insights. We'll break briefly for lunch. Lunch will be over in the room next door. We 15-20 minutes for lunch service. So when we get to lunch, if you could grab your lunch, come back in so we could start promptly with the CX panel. We'll get the CX panel rolling. Following that, we'll have a short break and then 5 big idea sessions. So we have a big idea speaker at each one of the 5, 10 to 15 minute kind of quick hits. You guys who have been to CXps know that that's something we do, kind of a TED style talk. And then following those, each speaker at the table. So where you're sitting right now, this afternoon, you're certainly welcome to stay planted, but change seats or swap seats. The afternoon round tables will be talking about whatever topic the speaker at that table covered that today. So there's a succession planning, there's standing up CX, there's sure some great topics. So whatever topic you want to follow, go find that table round table there. Our virtual guest, we're going to break you into 2 or 3 virtual work groups, and you're going to have a wide open ever 5 topics or any other CX related topic that you would like. So you'll have those roundtable options as well in the virtual. And then Blake, president at Client Savvy, is going to close us out, summarize, do a report out. I'll be able to share. Virtual guest, you're welcome to rejoin and hear the report out. Well, so questions about the agenda? A little bit of housekeeping. There are facilities right around the corner behind this left screen for those in the room. There's also some all the way around in the far corner of the building if you need to go. Guests, virtually, if you have a question for any of the speakers or the panelists, if you'll put those in the Q&A in the webinar platform, our good friend here at Client Savvy, Brandon Ross, will be your voice, and he will ask them to the panelists and speakers as we go. So we'll have kind of a hybrid Q&A there. And then let me go ahead and invite everyone to the beautiful Puerto Rico next year for CXps 2025. We'll be at the Wyndham Rio Mar. Blake and I went down there in January. It was fantastic. Out a year because we realized big enough for how amazing the venue was. Wanted a little bit more leeway to put bigger plans to really have a spectacular experience for everyone. The CX outings are much different than what you're used to. There'll be some morning yoga on the beach and all kinds of other fun things. So a lot of diverse experience. We're going to debut our XPS just before lunch. So just after lunch. So make sure you stick around for that. And with that, let me get started with curating client insights to grow and thrive. We're really going to talk today about using client insights to create value, deliver value in a compelling way. So this is about creating, delivering, and then capturing value. We're going to talk about developing an eyes-up foundation. So eyes up is, it's so easy to be eyes down, looking at our work, looking at our firm, looking at our business, trying to do the technical stuff. Elevate our eyes, put our eyes up, look out into our client's world, and really see things perspectives. And that's what we're talking about when we're talking about harvesting client insights, curating insights, and acting on them. It's doing so with vision, with your eyes up into your client's world. We've heard consistently say they want is engage me as a partner, focus on my outcomes, and communicate actively. So as we're looking at insights, as we're looking at how do we capture these, great ways just to ask our clients. So let's ask our clients from a partnering perspective, what are you trying to accomplish? And says, today is the day I get to hire a wastewater engineer. Right? What they're trying to do is develop a community and increase a standards of living, or they're trying to create a larger tax base, or there's all these other things that they're trying to do. So if we're eyes down on our technical work rather than eyes up on what our clients are really trying to accomplish, we're going to miss some really important opportunities. So let's ask, what are you trying to accomplish? And what's our role in helping you get there faster? Eyes up on outcomes. Do you know what you are measuring? Have we asked what their metrics are? How are they held accountable? What numbers in their organization is the board looking at? So if we understand our clients' metrics and measurements, what's important to them, we can find ways to partner with them and help them. All of a sudden, whatever our technical work isn't focused eyes down on the technical work. We're eyes up using our technical work to enable the numbers and the metrics that matter to them. So let's be outcomes focused. So let's ask our clients what their outcomes are. And then proactive communication, 2 ways to look at this. Let's anticipate the potential risks our clients might face and let's mitigate them. Our clients are all dealing with the risk. Who here as a professional service provider helps clients manage risk, like as a core part of your job? It's like everything that we do. So we know that intrinsically, how many times are our technical frontline staff having open, proactive conversation with their clients? Hey, let's talk about risk. Let's talk about where things might go sideways. Let's talk about where things might get uncertain. And by anticipating these things and engaging with our clients around, we're communicating with them proactively, but we're also hearing from them what risks do they see that maybe we're not seeing. And we can proactively brainstorm ways to mitigate those risks. Likewise, the other thing from proactive communication is anticipating areas of high effort the client deals with. So let's talk with our client. Hey, going through this project, where do you see is going to be the hardest thing for you to have to struggle with? Where are you having to put the most effort in? And if we can identify where our client has areas of high effort and we can engage with them and brainstorm, can I take some of that off of you? What can I do to make that easier for you? Not only does the client say, man, you really know me, you understand me, you hear me, and you're helping me, but you're developing additional scope of high value that could possibly be a very high fee. So it's a great win-win opportunity to understand what are the things our clients doing that are hard and where can we help? So just 3 simple approaches to, I know last year we talked about these 3 themes. I don't know that last year we gave you some ideas of how do we act on them? How do we really gain insights on these themes? What does that mean? So I wanted this year to really make that something that we talk about as a group, as a community. So what's your eyes up foundation? There's a lot of ways that we can ask these questions of our clients. How do we engage you as a partner? What outcomes, what metrics are you being measured by? and where do you have areas of risk and effort. So I'm going to give you 6 tools here to look ahead to stay aligned with your clients. And I'm going to share a couple of case studies along with this. 6 real-world case studies. I lied. There's actually a bonus 7th case study in here. So just didn't change the slide because I always like giving a little bit extra, right? So important information about your clients is hidden. Your clients know what a true partner looks like. Your clients know what risk they're facing. They know what outcomes and what metrics they're being held to. And we often don't. You would think if these were the important things to them, they would proactively tell us, here's what matters to me. But we all know clients just don't tell us the secret to success. That's why we have to be intentional about seeking insights from our clients. So insight tool number 1, client feedback. Those of you who know Client Savvy know we absolutely adore client feedback around here. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. I heard a wise man say that to me many, many times. So client feedback. How do we do that well? Get feedback early. Who here has stayed at a hotel and you get the survey after you check out? What can they do about your experience? Who here has stayed at a hotel that sends you a text after check-in saying, how's your experience been so far? I'm starting to see that now. I experienced time 10 years ago at the Thompson Hotel in Chicago. And it was like 15 minutes after check-in, Mr. Sedan, welcome to the Thompson Hotel. I hope your arrival has been great. Hope your room is good. On a scale of 1 to 10, how's your experience been so far? So I put a 1. My phone rang. It was the concierge. Mr. Saddam, I'm so sorry. What went wrong? I'm like, nothing. I just wanted to see if this worked. I'm in the industry. No one's ever done this before. I was just testing it. Actually, everything is amazing. And I'm going to tell your story like to audiences over the world from here on forward. Marriott is starting to do that in some of their properties now. I'm a Marriott guy. So about 20% seem to have converted to where I'm getting a text after my stay. So the world is catching on. We've been doing this for 20 years. We've been preaching this message, get feedback early. And in professional services, it's so much easier because our client journeys are long, they're complex, they're multifaceted. It's a lot easier to get feedback early and often when you have those long, complex journeys. So yeah, with that, get feedback often. Our clients' worlds change. Regulatory compliance, pandemics, market crashes, all kinds of stuff happens in our clients' world. And what was amazing for them yesterday may not be so today. So we want to get feedback on a regular basis. We need to involve the right people. One of the things I don't like about the hotels is generally it's some nameless machine. You give them feedback, it goes into the cloud somewhere. There's no real accountability. I don't know what to expect. What I loved about that Thompson Hotel was that the concierge called me. The person who could make my outcome better was directly involved in the process. So that's how you make feedback work. Don't worry about the scores. I saw one this week. I posted it on our internal jokes, a Slack channel at work. And it was a hotel, and inside each room was a placard that said, if you give us a 10 out of 10 on the survey, we're going to deposit 1,500 points into your account. What that tells you is leadership is putting the wrong metrics or driving the wrong accountability inside the organization. So now you got properties trying to gamify the system rather than really focus on authentically understanding and improving your experience. So as leaders, if you make the scores bigger than they are, you're going to ultimately undermine everything that you're trying to do. And then follow up instantly. You've got to close those feedback loops. I put that 1 on the text. The hotel called me right away. If there was a problem, they could have actually addressed it. So let's really think about the follow-up. One case study here, working with a firm up in Chicago. They got a quote from a client on a feedback request, and it said, it'd be great if you'd spend more time on site with us. That's all it said. Pretty harmless. Well, the client said, One of the project managers said, they're on my way to the office. I'll stop by their office a couple times a week on my way to the office, just to stop in, start walking the floor. Within 6 months, they tripled their revenue. The client said, I just want to see you. And so I show up and we start talking and you make donuts or coffee and, oh, hey, I got this thing I'm working on. Can you help? Literally started walking into work. It's amazing when you ask and you just show up and respond to what your clients ask, what happens. When we go a little further, this is for SME. If you want to see their website, really cool website. They have a client experience page on their website. They publish their metrics transparently. When you go on Amazon, you want to buy something, what's one of the first things you do? You check the 4-star reviews, right? Well, how do buyers use that? The same people that go on Amazon to buy a widget are the same people choosing to purchase your services. So how do they know that Jaffe is going to be an amazing digital firm to work with? How do they know that Lawyers Mutual Consulting is going to be a great consulting firm to work with? If you're collecting your own feedback, you can publish your results and help your buyers make that decision. Virtual audience, I am so sorry about the technical difficulties with the camera turning on and off. Brandon, thanks for being a hero and keeping that thing manned. We'll get that fixed at the break. Insights tool number 2, client interviews. Client surveys are a great way to measure broadly, quickly, rapidly. Client interviews are a critical part of any insights mechanism to go deeper and really understand what's going on with your clients. So one example, when you sit down with a client, when you do an interview, and you know, a client interviews, it's a tough skill. Get trained on it. Train your front line on it. Wicker Park Group is here. There's a few better in the industry at doing client interviews. So if you want to do client interviews, talk to a professional who really knows how to do client interviews. There's measurable, meaningful skill development that needs to happen there to enable a conflict discovery, conflict resolution. But when you do, great things happen. Here's one. No one else has asked me for feedback like this before. I've got 2 projects I was going to bid. But since you're here, I'm going to give them to you single source. There's $250,000 in fee that engineering firm walked out of lunch with just because they sat down with a client and said, hey, how are things going? Don't underestimate the potency and the power of just asking people how things are going. Insights tool number 3, client panels. Withers Ravenel, you got like a bunch of people here today. Withers did this year. Glenn's going to be talking about it, so I don't want to spoil his fun. But they brought clients, they invited clients into a room, put them on a panel in front of a room of project managers, leaders, client success managers, and just asked, hey, what do we do well? What does the industry do well? What does the industry do terribly at? What could we be doing differently for you? And Glenn will tell you a bit more about their successes. I'm going to steal one here. We as an organization always pick the most expensive option. It's usually the best. A client said that in front of everyone. Do you think that changes how they write proposals? Does that change their pricing strategy? Your clients want excellence. They want you to do well. So why would we not ask them the keys to that success? And you know what? When you do great work for clients, they're willing to pay for it. Insights tool number 4, empathy mapping. So the first 3 insights we shared, those are insights tools that directly involve the client. You have to show your client we're trying to gather insights. You're getting in front of them in some way, shape, or form. But there are some tools you can use to curate insights that don't require the client. Empathy mapping is a great tool. That's where you get a group of your internal stakeholders and you sit in a room and you say, hey, let's look from the outside in at our business. As Tim Schroeder from Newman Munson Architects always says, it's really hard to read the label from inside the jar. I just love the quote because it's such a perfect perspective on what empathy mapping can do for you. And we just map what it's like a client from pre-purchase, through contracting, through kickoff, through delivery, all the way through the end. Your people know where the pain points are with your clients. Your staff have really good instincts. And if we get them in a room and we're sharing that knowledge with each other, you're going to find some amazing opportunities to pivot, to adjust, and ultimately curate some insights that will lead to action. One case study was working with a large engineering firm up in Philadelphia. We had about 30 of their project managers and client managers we divided into two halves, and 15 worked on an empathy map for Cowboy Jim, a local real estate developer, kind of family-owned business. And then half the room was working on an empathy map for Corporate James, kind of a corporate real estate developer for like a national retail brand. So they had two kinds of clients. And what was interesting, as they were going through the mapping, they realized, a Cowboy Jim, he might like buy a shopping center. And so he's all about like the deal. Corporate James, let's just say it wasn't them, but let's just say it was Chick-fil-A. He's the VP of real estate for Chick-fil-A. And so Chick-fil-A is always looking for, where's a good shopping center where I'm going to have a lot of traffic? And Cowboy Jim's always looking for, where's the next opportunity? So they realized, if we know a Chick-fil-A is going to go into this like aging shopping center, if we let Cowboy Jim know that early, might he be able to go snap it up before all the traffic hits? And because Chick-fil-A is going to bring a bunch of cars, he's going to buy low on a property. And if we know a developer is going to renovate this whole shopping center and make it better, we want to let Corporate James know that, hey, this thing's happening, might be a great site to go put a new Chick-fil-A. So using empathy, they were able to take two sides of business that were really not talking to each other, and they created a like deals newsletter that went to both sides to try to connect their clients with each other into mutual opportunities. What other engineering firm is helping these guys really grow their business like that? And that just happened from empathy. Journey mapping is similar to empathy mapping, whereas empathy mapping might look at the entirety of the experience from pre-purchase all the way to the end. Journey mapping is where you go a little more laser focused. Maybe you're looking at like the invoicing process, and you're really mapping out all the nuts and bolts, the stakeholders, the workflows, the documents, the tools, to really understand from the client's perspective, what does it take to like receive, approve, and pay an invoice? So journey mapping, trying to journey map an entire professional service project is a very robust and large undertaking. I generally recommend start with an empathy map, find out where some pain points or opportunities might be, and then journey map those targeted areas. You'll end up building the whole journey eventually if you do it that way. So again, one example, I mentioned the invoicing process, and they found that when they sent an invoice to a client, the client received it, but in order to approve the invoice, they needed the contract so they could reference back and forth. And because the contract was filed away somewhere, the invoice would like sit at their desk, and then papers get piled on top, and then it's 90 days, and all these things start to happen. Well, by understanding that and mapping it out, what they were able to do is figure out, if we attach the contract with the invoice, they don't have to go find the contract. And that simple change reduced their average days of AR 17 days. So again, another insights tool. Little things like that can make or break the difference between you and a competitor. If you're just easier to do business, who likes paying invoices or processing invoices? I mean, it's a lousy part of the job. We all got to do it. It's a lousy part of the job. If we can make that process that much easier, that much more delightful, why would I pick anybody else? And when you really look at all the little pieces you can improve along the way, invoicing being just one of them, your opportunity to really create a meaningfully different experience start to finish versus your competitors goes through the roof. Insights tool number 6 is operational data. There is so much wisdom about your clients in the data you're already collecting. Who here has a billing system where you're billing time? Right? I mean, everybody in professional services. Utilization rates, billings, effective multiplier, profit, AR aging. AT&T, they're not professional services, but they found when the days to pay with one of their customers decreased by 4 days, their likelihood of churn went up 90%. So if I always pay my bill on the 5th, and then suddenly I start paying it on the 12th, they had this like warning red light saying, hey, this guy's about to go somewhere else. He's unhappy for some reason. That's why he's paying slow. And they were able to put something in to offer incentives or do something else, and they cut their churn dramatically. So there's a ton of insight and information in your operational data available for you to act on. Working with a law firm on the West Coast, and they found their client sentiment was able to accurately predict revenue churn. For example, in 2021, 93% of their promoters came back and had billings in 2022. But only 75% of their non-promoters came back and had billings in 2022. Said differently, turning that around, their non-promoters are 3.6 times more likely to churn. And when we looked at their average billings and average account size, that ended up being every non-promoter did $80,625 in lost revenue. There's some insights. When you start to quantify, when you put numbers on this, this gets executive attention like very little else does. Every time one of these comes in, we're losing $80,000 in billings next year. Wow, what do we do about that? Maybe it is worth a little bit of account recovery. Maybe we invest some non-billable time in investing in the relationship to create some delight, create some loyalty, and ultimately capture and retain those billings. So these are some insights mechanisms in order to go from I see to I do. I'm going to encourage you to create a CX Center of Excellence inside your organization. A CX Center of Excellence is a cross-functional team of professionals whose job it is to look at these insights, come up with ideas. What do we do with these insights? And then propose and recommend action to leadership so that we can do something with this. I've seen so many firms do client feedback and they get some great insights, but they don't have an organization or a function or a capability internally to then turn those insights into action. And you can do a lot just by sitting down with the client, asking how things are going, and making things better for that client. But if Glenn tells me something that I didn't know, and that's a truth that applies to more than just Glenn, if that's an insight that applies to other clients as well, what a missed opportunity to just take care of Glenn and make his experience better when I could use what I learned from Glenn to make a broad swath of my clients better. So that's what that CX Center of Excellence is tasked with, is all the sources of client insight, whether it's feedback, interviews, panels, journey maps, empathy maps, operational data. Use all of that, look at it, be curious about it, and then generate ideas and recommended action to leadership so leadership can then authorize, fund, endorse, and release the work needed to go make change happen. So when we talk about doing that, we're going to really look at that through this lens of value creation. You're creating value for clients. That's what a client insight is all about. We're capturing insight so we can create more value for our clients, but we also want to then create value for our shareholders. We want to find a way to capture that value as creating value for clients and then capturing it for the business. Value creation, what does that look like? A quick definition: I'm better off with you than without you. That's the impression we want to with each one of our clients. I'm better off with you than I am without you. That client's never going to leave. Value creation. So what is value? I'm better off with you than without you. Value creation is the process of giving a client more of what they want. I'm better off with you than without you. Value creation is finding a way to give that more and more. The client experience is doing that in a way that they really enjoy receiving the value. So there's a trifecta there. So what does a client really want? I've got this on the screen. Anyone want to hazard a guess? What does this client want? What do we think they're doing? Making cars? Right. Now let's say you're the world's best seat installer. If you position yourself as the best seat installer, if you're eyes down, only focused on installing seats? Have you lost perspective of what the client's really trying to accomplish? They're trying to move cars. You can install, they're not shipping and selling cars, so what? So value creation, this goes back to where I started. This idea of value creation is understanding the outputs your clients are trying to create and then contextualizing your inputs of installing seats into enabling them to do more of what they're trying to do. And just that little shift in perspective, clients all of a sudden say, you really understand me. So value creation, I know something new. 3 steps of value creation. The first step, I know something new. I know something now I didn't know before. We can help our clients by knowing something new. Knowledge isn't as powerful as I know what to do. So if you know something new, you can give that to a client. That's got value. But if you a notch, I know what to do with that, you're enabling them to do more with that. And the ultimate step is I've proved it with results. So when we ask clients, how are you being measured? What outcomes are you after? What metrics does the board look at? As you're going through your service delivery, you can give them some data that helps feed into those metrics. Valuable. You could share with them, hey, that data suggests this course of action. More valuable. And hey, we've taken action, we've measured, and now look how your metrics are improving. And now the client knows that the inputs you're giving them, the service you're providing, is directly related to their KPIs improving. Again, that's a client who's never going to leave you. So how do we create value? Specific value creation. You have a known opportunity. Sometimes clients tell you, I'm trying to move as many cars as I can. Okay, great. I'm a seat installer. Let's talk about how the way I install the seats is going to help you move as many cars as possible. Sometimes they'll tell you. Sometimes they don't, and you can just ask. Sometimes there's a discovered value opportunity. In the process of working with them, in the process of collaborating with them, you discover some value opportunities, and you can reveal to them or suggest, hey, I see this potential opportunity. Can we talk about that? And they say, yeah, I wasn't even thinking about that. You together are discovering some value opportunities. And the third one is the assumed business goal or need. If you're going into an RFP or RFQ and it's a blind and you're not able to talk, and there's all the requirements in the RFP or the RFQ, and they really haven't told you what their KPIs are. They haven't told you really what their organizational or business objectives are. They've told you what they want, so the scope is there, but the why behind it's missing. Has anyone ever been in that? You know why? So sometimes you have to use that assumed business goal or need. I was working with a transportation firm in Texas. They had this like make the year proposal they were going after. And one of the questions was they had 300 words to answer all the different types of traffic signaling that they knew how to do. Like 300 words, I could write 300 pages on. So you could try to squeeze a short technical answer in, or you could think about it from the client's perspective. Well, if you're far through the intersection as possible, you could take this approach. If you're in a school zone and safety is really the most important thing, you could take this approach. If you're trying to do a mix of pedestrians, bike, and cars, you could take this approach. Now you're answering technically that you've got those capabilities, but you're assuming the business or the organizational need and answering through the lens of what the client's really trying to accomplish. And then as you're putting whatever deliverable together, whether it's a proposal, whether it's a document, whether it's the final report, a set of drawings, a legal brief, what is the specific deliverable that reveals, proves, or creates the value? Whatever you're giving to the client, do we have the proof in there that we've created value? I guarantee you most of your competitors are not doing this. They're doing the technical work. It's a technical brief. It's a technical document. And they've missed the actual value delivery. Put it on the first page. Make it really easy to find. Working with an architecture firm, and they were competing to do the blueprint for a national chain auto parts store. And, you think an auto parts store is like all about high design and beautiful. I went to school for architecture. I love that stuff. But it's an auto parts store. And they're having the strategy session. How are we going to propose on this? So you ask the question, well, what metrics are they being measured on? What do they care about most? Well, if you're in retail, probably retail sales per square foot, probably operational cost per square foot. So when you start really looking at the problem through the client's lens, now they could put together a real bespoke proposal and an approach that was focused on maximizing retail sales per square foot. I said, well, we don't know how to really do that. Well, then propose a scope to go do a bunch of research. That could be a massive engagement. But if it's focused on what the client cares about most and you're doing research and it's adding value, you could be 3 times more expensive than somebody else and 10 times more valuable. So as we're looking at the anatomy of value creation, what is the value creator? What is the data that's needed? How do we organize that data to tell the story? How do we present the data in a way that's clear and concise? You might have reams of data. You got to get it down to like 3 slides. Make it really easy to distill. What's the action to take? And then have the conversation internally. How do we capture that value? If we're going to do all this work to create value for a client, how do we capture that value? Got 2 minutes left. So what are your eyes up strategies, everyone? Any questions? Lively audience. You guys just want lunch. You can smell it, can't you? Yeah. Sure. And if anyone wants a copy of the slide deck, just email me, ryan@clientsavvy.com. I'll be happy to share the slides with you. We will just send them to you all. There we go. Proactive communication. Proactive communication. Yeah. All right. Well, great. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, welcome to CXps virtual audience. We will reconvene right around noon for the lunch panel, so do be back online for that. And we'll see you guys in just a few minutes.